flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty, good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Calling the meeting to order. Sandy can hear us good. We'll look for a motion to approve the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to it?
No.
I'll make that motion.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda approved. The minutes from the 12-7 meeting?
I read over them, I didn't see anything unusual about them, so I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second. Give it to Sandy.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes approved. So for general public concerns, would this be a good spot for our update?
Yep.
I think so.
Anybody else?
General public.
Any general public otherwise, though, in all fairness? Anybody on Zoom, phone? No?
Looks like it.
All right, would that work for you, John? Okay, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, so Sandy had asked us to come and just kind of provide an update, and I think it was in reference to the vaccines that are starting to be distributed as of today, if you watch the news. So just to kind of give you an update where we're at with COVID as well as the vaccination process. We'll go through Humboldt County, so I'll be doing a public release here shortly today, but the Pfizer vaccine that came out this morning, well, it was approved last week, that came out this morning, Humboldt County will not be receiving any of those doses. A lot of that was based on, the county had access to the temperature in a freezer that's required to be, which is -70. We have one on order. We've had it on order for at least 6 weeks at this point, but because of what's happening, it's on back order. So we were not able to retain that prior to the distribution decision. So the Moderna vaccination is to go to the FDA for its EUA, which is the emergency use authorization, on the 17th of December. We are currently allocated doses of that vaccination. That would be, if approved, distributed on the week of the 21st of December. So we are fully anticipating the doses at that time. Our organization with public health and the nursing homes in the community are preparing for that time frame to start the vaccination process.
That's as soon as the what?
The week of the 21st. Next week.
That's a week.
Yep. So the 17th, which is Thursday, is the authorization date, and then they'll be shipping them out right after that.
That's pretty limited though, isn't it, still?
So it is, but we believe with the number that we've been told, it will meet the needs of us in what's requirement of the first round or first phase. So that's our long-term care residents and the staff, as well as our healthcare providers. So we should be able to vaccinate anyone in that grouping that chooses to receive this vaccination. So probably, it'll probably take us 2 weeks to get through that in this first phase. The Moderna vaccination is a 28-day 2-dose vaccination. So we'll receive one, and then 28 days later receive the second dose.
The Pfizer one is also the same way, isn't it?
It is. It's
Yeah.
just 21 days.
21 days.
Yep.
Okay.
So very similar in their effectiveness, so 95 and 94.5% effective from both of them.
Yep.
So looking forward to being able to start the process to hopefully get us back to normal as soon as we can. As of now, we're being told that by June-ish, everyone should have had an opportunity to receive one that chooses to have it. So we're still about 6 months away from a complete vaccination process for all community members.
So you're speaking of this first round with the one particular non-super-duper frozen vaccine, and then you're going to get the capability of the extreme freezing to have that vaccination as well, or that vaccine as well,
Yeah,
down the road?
potentially.
Yep.
The
But-
FDA and the CDC then send it to the governors, and the governors distribute it from there.
Okay.
So we're just taking what we receive.
So then, so either or of the different, vaccines, what do they tell you after this initial phase that goes to your allotted, people you just mentioned?
Mhm.
So will something else come then after the first of the year? They're gonna just keep doling these out in small amounts as they become available?
That's what.
And that's why it's gonna take potentially till into summer?
Yeah.
'Cause it's not gonna be a first phase and a big second phase, it's just gonna come in small increments, is that the way you see it?
That's exactly right. So the infectious disease providers are the ones kind of helping create that algorithm
Right.
and that phasing. So your, healthcare providers and long-term care units, and your second phase, we're likely looking at first responders, any other medical providers, your congregate settings that are out there, and then, starting to look at the vulnerable populations and
Right.
comorbidities, and then your elderly population, and then the general population.
So, and that's gonna keep coming in,
Phases.
not to, no pun intended, doses,
Yep.
allocations, maybe is a better word.
Absolutely.
They're gonna always come in allocations, not gonna all of a sudden get enough that here, everybody can have.
Yeah, we don't
Probably not
anticipate that.
until summertime is what they're kind of...
But that'll still get there by these allocations, and there's people that they're targeted for,
Correct.
okay?
Yep.
So I'm assuming you would say go to the South Care Center as the staff and do the shots there, people wouldn't go out there to the hospital.
So the nursing homes had a couple different options when we went through this process of signing up. And so the government put together 3 pharmacies that can support all the nursing homes. So CVS, Walmart, and Community Pharmacy are the 3 that are helping the pharmacy. So in Humboldt, our North and South Care Center will actually be receiving their doses through the pharmacy program that's out there. And as of right now, the 28th, correct?
So basically, the 28th is when they'll start those pharmacy partnerships.
Okay.
Yeah. So their staff and all their residents will have the availability to receive the vaccination.
And once the vaccination process has gone through, you think they'll do away with this lockdown on these nursing
And
homes?
I think they're just continuing to learn new things each day. It's gonna take time, they're still gonna say the same mitigation efforts, even if you decide to get the vaccine, you still need to wear a mask, you still need to social distance, all those pieces that we're currently doing, until they learn more about the long-term immunity once you get the vaccine, what does that look like? And how many people have received it, and...
The nursing homes are under the CMS Medicare guidelines primarily for their rules and regulations right now. So the way it's set up today is if they get out of outbreak status, they can have those visitors back. So if the vaccination works to create somewhat of an immunity and there's no outbreak existing, that there's a...
Then they can loosen up restrictions and stuff.
And that's in place today. It's just unfortunately, nearly every nursing home has an outbreak status.
Yeah.
Whether it's a resident or a staff member, it's considered an outbreak, so.
Isn't it, if there's one that's considered an outbreak?
Yeah, there's 2, it's complicated, but yes, so CMS, is it IDPH or IDIA that does one?
IDPH is 3.
IDPH is 3 people having it, is considered an outbreak, CMS is 1. So we always have to follow this more strict of the 2, which is currently CMS in that case, so. Yeah,
What
so
about people who have had it?
What's that?
What about people who have already had coronavirus? Now, are they they're still gonna be able to be in line to get the vaccine?
They
If
are,
need that category?
they moved down on the priority list. So we reserve it for those that have not had it first. And then once we have abundance of it, then they can receive it. If
So
it's
does that
within
count
that
for
90.
nursing homes too, the care centers?
I don't know the answer to that, Sandy.
Yeah, it just kind of depends, if a complete nursing home has all had it, they're probably gonna look at vaccinating everybody if they want it. If it's
Okay.
half and half, they might just prioritize those people that have not had COVID and then vaccinate the people that have. It's kind of a sub-prioritization when it comes to who's had it and who hasn't.
And Humboldt County will have enough doses for anyone in the nursing home to receive it, whether they've had it or not. So
Yep.
in Humboldt County, they will all have the option, no matter what if they've had it or not, to get it right now, right out of the chute, per se. They are our priority.
So vaccination is similar to the flu with the little needle, right? I mean, it's just the,
Yep, it's an intramuscular injection, just like the flu.
because I hate needles.
Except for you, it's gonna be much
It's gonna be about-
It's gonna be much larger for you.
I'd rather be beat up than have a shot. I just don't like them.
So both of these, you said there's a time lapse, there's 2 doses needed for full protection, so to speak.
Yeah, yep. And, you know, over the weekend, Pfizer sent out its 36-page document on the vaccination, along with the research and the studies, and I spent some time reviewing it, and, you know, you have 20,000 people that go through the testing of it, and you are seeing some side effects from the vaccination, but very similar to what you see from other vaccinations that are out there, so typically, the first dose you have less of a reaction to, the second dose creates a little bit more of side effects. But that's a good thing, that means your body is reacting to what's inside, and then hopefully creating the ability to fight it off should it enter your system later, so. But the minor
Vaccine,
symptoms,
isn't the second one kind of makes you a little full?
soreness, you can have fever, chill,
Right.
you know, the muscle pain, joint pain.
Yeah.
You know, there are always those situations where there's a very small number that have more of a severe reaction to it, but that's very limited, safe enough to be distributed at this point. The other side of it is, you know, we continue to tell our staff, because our staff are needing to make decisions now if they're going to receive it or not, you know, we get it the week of the 21st, and so we continue to educate on, make sure if you're educating yourself, it's at the right place. So social media is not the right place to educate yourself. It is, you know, the CDC and the Iowa Department of Public Health, as well as other governmental, like the AHA puts out some good stuff. I mean, you just need to make sure you're in the right place, making decisions for yourself as to if you should receive this vaccination or not, so.
Okay.
So how big is, not to snoop, but how big is this 70 below freezer that you're ordering? Is it like a deep freeze? Is it like a
Yeah, very.
walk-in cooler, or?
No, it's small like a deep freeze. Yep.
I guess I didn't know how many, those little vials would,
What
how much
they're-
room they take up.
Yeah, they're coming in a carton of 100, so you get 10 vials with 10 doses in them. And so that's something that has to be managed pretty well, because once you pull it out to thaw, you have so much time.
So much
to
time to
use it.
use it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And there's a process, you have to constitute it, and you have to, you know, just, there's steps that are normal for
Right,
vaccinations
right.
that we have to go through, but it needs to be well organized, which is why public health is going to manage all the vaccines at this time for our county, versus we had the option to have some shipped to the hospital, some shipped to the clinic, some shipped to the nursing homes, but we felt it was best to have our vaccines in one location.
Yeah, it's probably a good idea. That way it all gets done the same.
The other thing we're being told at this point is we cannot share vaccinations across counties. So what we have in Humboldt County cannot cross county lines, what others have, so if somebody has extra doses in another county at this time, those cannot cross county lines. So we have to take care of ourselves, in this county solely at this point.
Will that be the same for people that, I mean, like Laverne and some of the towns, Gilmore, are divided by certain street?
You have to
Do
go
they
by
have
your
to go to
street
one
address.
Decide that if they're in Pokey, they have to go to Pokey to get their vaccination?
It, you know, it depends on their role in the world right now and in the phasing. So if they're, for example, if you live in Fort Dodge and work at the Humboldt Hospital, I mean, we have people that work all over.
Right.
We're gonna take care of those people in Humboldt County, because their healthcare provider in the Phase 1A right now will inject those people. So it's not necessarily by where you live, it's by what your role in the environment is today.
I'm thinking when it comes out to the public, it will be like that.
That's what I mean.
Yeah, later on, wherever you live, you go to that county to get your vaccine. I'm guessing that's how it will be.
We've been told that
Will there be
it's
any
like-
charge for this vaccine?
Not right now, no. So we're not paying for it, and the consumer won't be paying for it at
Okay.
this time. So it's all being distributed via taxpayer dollars at this point.
So, we're all paying for it.
Yep, at the end of the day.
And our grandkids.
The answer is yes to that, but there's no cost to it
Okay.
for anybody right now.
Well, we appreciate everything you
Yeah.
guys are doing, and...
Thank you for the update. Sandy, did you have anything else? Thank you for lining these gals up to come in at kind of short notice.
If there's anything we
Thank
can
you,
do to
Michelle,
help...
thank you, Jolene.
I appreciate it. I don't know if you guys get asked this question, but we do get asked it quite a bit, and I do anyway, it's just, is Humboldt County going to implement mask mandates or, our own rules internally? And so, Dave sits on the Board of Health with us. A lot of counties have utilized the Board of Health to make determinations like that. I think Wright County made one. We've just said, we continue to follow the guidelines by the Iowa Department of Public Health, and every person needs to take care of themselves and follow the rules. But, I don't know if you guys ever get that question, but if you would ever want to talk to us about doing something, we're open to it. It's just, we, at this point, have felt just sticking with what IDPH says, what the Governor Reynolds is saying, and it's working for our county at this moment. Plus, we don't want to put the sheriff and police on.
No, I think I'm glad you stated that. That's a good policy. We can obviously see by the attendance here in our little meeting that everyone's following a little stricter guidelines, but it comes down to personal responsibility.
Yeah.
So I think that's good. Yeah, I think if someone to get up and yell and scream, I think we're in a pretty good spot in Humboldt County.
We agree.
And that's part of just following the state guidelines have been fine.
Like the governor said, she don't have enough law enforcement to enforce.
No.
The general public needs to be aware of it and follow guidelines.
I figure it's extra, exercise, 'cause when I get out of my vehicle and walk to the door and...
And then you have to walk back.
I gotta walk back.
I thought I was the only one.
No.
So actually, it's beneficial. Yeah, the exercise part of
Steps
it.
in a day.
Yep. We're going twice as far.
I
because
probably need to go to confession, and I'm not a Catholic, but I say a lot of...
I'm sure you do.
Walking back,
That's why you carry 2 or 3 in the pocket.
I have them, I know, but I'm in the vehicle by myself, so I laugh at those people when I see them and meet them, and it's like, who are you protecting yourself from?
Yeah.
But maybe it's,
Sometimes
I should do that.
it gets to be a darn habit. You put it on and you just kind of forget to take it off.
Yes, you got it on, maybe that's what I need to do.
It serves a good purpose in the cold weather.
It does, I did notice that, it does kind of keep the cold air
Yeah,
from
I agree.
burning your lungs, but,
Well, like I said, if we can do anything,
No,
what is the count on our number wise? I know we used to be pretty high, it's starting to taper off
We had a
again.
great week last week, meaning much lower numbers.
Very
good.
Our hospital, our emergency room continues to be very busy, with other things and COVID. But overall, we saw a great decrease in positivity.
Morning's at 13.9% for the 14-day positivity rate.
Okay,
Haven't seen that for a long time.
yeah, it's come down a
That
lot.
was good, and then our total is 853 total for our county as of right now.
I know I had a meeting with the superintendent, and their numbers have been really good too, so
Yeah,
they've been real happy with the response they got up at the school,
Yeah.
Yep.
so.
I forgot to grab the paper, but the Messenger had Humboldt a lot, and they had us down for, I think 12 deaths, and we actually had, it says 6 on the website, correct? I mean, the Messenger had us up a lot different in the paper, for the Saturday paper. I don't know where they're getting their numbers.
Yeah, it's kind of confusing with the deaths right now, and they're changing some things. They changed more stuff at the end of last week. So what you see on the hospital website is accurate, kind of in real time. So,
Okay, good, that's good to know.
yep.
We hope it continues to drop.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Us too.
yeah.
Yes.
Well, thanks again for coming in on relatively short notice and with a nice update, and yes, we'll remain cautiously optimistic.
I would agree.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you. Good luck with your first round of vaccinations.
Thank you.
Hope that goes well for you.
Yeah, we can let you know that.
Yes, yes. All righty. Randy?
I won't take much time here.
You betcha.
I've been dealing with a couple of things, as you know, that, when we have, buildings that have been built,
Oh, yeah, without a permit, and then they find out they're on someone else's property,
or, yeah.
or
well,
or encroaching.
Yeah, most of the time it's been, you know, people that, building buildings before they have a permit, and I've got 3 of them right now that the assessor's office gave me the end of the last week. There's 3 homes being built, and, they don't have a permit yet. And in the past, what we've done on that is kind of, provided that they would get the permit to us quickly, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have one situation, that I've been working with since March. Individual that's building a building and had it surveyed and indicated to me that it was gonna be used for agricultural storage, personal agricultural storage. Had it surveyed, which was for 1 acre. So I had to inform them, no, it has to be 2 acres, unless it's commercial, industrial, or residential. Well, then in the process, basically I had to say, you got 2 options, okay? You leave it at 1 acre, then it'll have to be commercial, residential, or industrial. Well, there's some question on what it's gonna be used for, but they indicated just for personal storage. And so it was left that way, they hadn't gotten back to me, and so about 2 weeks ago, indicated they'd had it resurveyed, gonna use it just for agricultural purposes. And so I said, okay, is the property been staked out? Yes. Is the building staked out where it's gonna be located? Yes, because I said I need to do a site visit to verify that. When I drove out there, the foundation was already in place. Person had been told, you can't start this building until we have all this other stuff taken care of. I had explained it several times, I even sent an email probably was in June maybe, stating this is exactly what has to take place before we go further, and here are your options in doing that. So now I'm sitting with, okay, everything else is good, okay, except they're in violation of, you know, not having a permit before starting. Well, the reason I put the piece of paper in front of you, that's the actual language dealing with the penalties. And there's a lot of things in there that are really, really vague and questionable. For example, one word in there, it says conviction. There's nothing in the ordinance that says anything about the definition of conviction, or how it's done, or who enforces it, or who's responsible. And so, long story short, along with the other things, we're doing revisions when I'm working with the Board of Adjustment and zoning boards. I'm gonna make some recommendations on this factor. I think there has to be something more, concrete in place. I realize the difficulties in you know, people not knowing, but if you notice the narrative, it can't just be from neglect. And so, I haven't determined what my recommendations will totally be. I'm only bringing this to you today for you to take a look at this. I've already okayed the permit for this one that I'm talking about. I'm gonna go ahead and okay that, submit that, because everything is all right.
It's okay.
And they're also dealing with the factor of the building is close to a drainage ditch. They've been denied a septic permit. So basically, you're looking at, they didn't do the due diligence in preparation of where that building is gonna be. For a lot of
Well,
different reasons.
and that's what happens when you don't get a building permit.
Yeah, exactly. And so, that aside, everything else is okay as far as our ordinance is concerned. with the new rezoning, I explained specifically, if there is going to be any other thing other than agricultural in this building, then you'll have to go to the zoning board for a special exception use. It's now agricultural. You can do anything else according to the accepted uses, you're gonna have to go through, and I said, I can't guarantee that they're gonna okay that. I say that because my speculations are somewhat that way. That being said, all I'm asking you to do is if you would review that, and I'm not asking for an answer today, should there be penalty involved, okay? And also, if you see anything that I should be thinking about, or your ideas are, of how we can make this look better. I've done the ads in the paper, I've done a TV, or a radio spot, announcing, you know, you got, and it's really been pretty good, but the assessors right now are doing drive-bys, and so I got 3 more I'm dealing with right now. 3 homes that are, well, they're all in the framing and sheathing stages. So, I mean, it's not like I'm gonna drive all over the county and look and see, but whenever they find them, they're letting me know.
Okay, I'll throw this out there, is it the same contractor that's building these homes, or is it different, or are these owner construct homes, or?
One I know is the contractor is the person's home.
Okay.
The other 2 I don't know yet.
I mean, they should know that, you know, they should say, hey, who's got the building permit, been out and got it?
I drove out to the one, and 2 guys were working, and I said, do you guys own this? No. I said, is this owned by the name? And they said, yes. I said, you know, just checking, the assessor's office doesn't have record of a building permit. And I said, I haven't been issued one. And they, well, I don't, you know, so that's the kind, I have to do some digging sometimes, you know, to find that out, and then you gotta find out phone numbers, and then you know,
Yeah.
I mean, so it does take a little bit of time. And there's no 100% thing you're gonna get on this, there's just no way. But there's 2 factors, how do we improve that, but also, how do we enforce what's written here? Or do we even enforce it?
Well, we had this similar conversation.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I'm not an attorney or a ordinance writer, but this would be really simple on this violation and penalty. You just strike upon conviction. So, if you have someone that, does not have the proper permit in place prior to construction, it's $100 fine. And
But
further,
if you notice down below, the last sentence there, okay?
yeah,
Each day that a violation is permitted to exist constitutes a separate offense.
So that'd be $100 per day.
that's fine. Then you wanna, if you want to enforce something, in other words, the permit prior to construction, so be it. If they lapse 10 days and it's $1,000 fine, maybe they'll step up and take notice.
My question is, if they were digging a hole and Bill Johnson went in to get the permit, or you just started digging, that's one thing. But if you're in the sheeting part or the drywall
Yes.
part,
It's
you've
been
been
going on a
doing this
while.
for a long time.
Bingo.
And it's,
Yes.
in my opinion, you can't be put in a position of having to go out and ask, do you have a building permit? We should know. This place has a building permit.
If you really...
But I have to make, the assessor's office gives me the name.
I know.
I make the contact, or
Yeah, 'cause
in that case, I throw out, is there even, you know, what's there? I basically wanted to find out, and those 2 guys were there. I generally just make a phone call, say, do you have a building permit? We don't have record of it. Have you issued one? And I just don't have it yet, you know, which could be the case. And in every case, I've been, oh, no, you know, but as soon as I tell them, you gotta get it into me, you gotta get it to me as soon as possible, I give them the process, but still, they're in violation. I mean, you know, if they started, but to what extent?
Well, that,
And say, so, and in this, you're not talking about just, that would be neglect, okay? But if you're looking here, it says, okay, omits, disobeys, okay? In the one case I'm talking about, they knew specifically that before they could start, they had to have the permit. And these are the steps that have to be taken. So to me, that's disobeying the directions that I've given them. The problem is, like I said, how do we determine what to enforce? Who enforces it? And if you, let's say you got, you know, a large amount of money, they started a week and a half ago. I'm sure not gonna go out there and go, this is what you owe.
Well, I'll just give you an example, what the city does in Humboldt. If you don't pay a fine, they stick it on your property tax.
I realize that.
And we could change this to, I see a gray area in here especially is, when you come out there and it's already started, you say, well, I'm gonna fine you for 10 days, 20 days, you don't know how long they've started. Maybe we need to put it in there once notified that you don't, the $100 a day starts. You know, 'cause otherwise, how you gonna, what day are you gonna pick to start charging $100?
yeah, there's some things, but,
'cause once they're notified, they should definitely get their butt in there and get it that day.
And normally, that's the...
yeah, and that's kinda like,
Some people, you know, really don't think about it.
No, I know.
Well, they think I'm in Door, Iowa.
Yeah, I
Do I need
know.
a building permit? Well, technically.
yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
And that's why we're trying to do better on the other side, is educating the public.
Right.
And it has improved, I think, but on the other hand...
So when you're building a house,
Yeah.
you should really know that you're
Yeah.
a building permit.
Bingo,
Versus like putting a little lean-to on the side of a building to throw a couple of chickens in, you know?
right.
Well, my goal here today is not to take too much of your time.
What's that, Sandy?
Shouldn't the contractors, I mean, what, they know, they should say something to the owners right away. Who, is it the owners that, make it or is it the contractors?
It's the owner's responsibility.
Right, so the contractors, you would think, would say, hey, you have your building permit.
The contractor theoretically should not start until the permit is provided.
Right.
That's not been...
I know, but, you know, and we're pretty lenient, but I think, and you're pretty lenient, because it's like I said, Bruce, if they're digging the hole, and somebody said, oh, we forgot the building permit, they contact Randy, he comes out, there's no violation of what they're doing, they do need the permit, and they get the permit. The house is 3/4 constructed, and they're putting the shingles on it, and there's been no permit from anybody, that's pretty egregious. And then plus, when you get to that point, if there is a concern, why there is a permitting process, which is it built in the correct area? Is there issues with anything that would relate to getting a permit? What do you do then? Then it creates more problems.
Well,
Here's, that's why you get, that's why this is all here, and Randy's always stated this quite succinctly, it isn't to penalize people, it's to help them.
Yeah.
So they don't do something that's gonna get them in trouble later.
Yeah, like build too close to a right-of-way, or
Say,
do things like drainage, like you said.
what if you are putting something on your property and you live next to someone else, and
You actually
you're
build it on
you're
the property.
confused
That
about...
happens all the time.
You're confused about the property line, Randy would go out and look, check the distances, so on and so forth, check the property line, and be able to tell the person, you know, if you build this per these plans, you're gonna be 6 foot on the neighbor's property. I don't think that's gonna go very well. I don't care what you're building. It's to help people not get themselves in trouble.
You make a mistake.
Yes, exactly.
I got a suggestion. I don't know, see what everybody else thinks. Maybe you should rewrite this where if they don't have the building permit, once the thing is started, the building permit triples, costs them 3 times as much. And then if they don't get it, you give them a certified letter that, hey, you need a building permit, and then the $100 a day starts the day of that letter.
Well, as I said, in my
Or something.
to give you
I don't
that
know.
today, I don't take this much...
Because there should be a penalty for not having it from the first place, But not a real severe, $100 a day is a lot.
Along with this being part of the ordinance, I'm also I'm doing rewrites and revisions and reformatting of the ordinance right now. That eventually will be taken to the Board of Adjustments and Zoning Board. We will go through that, is my hope. Probably, I was wanting to do it this month, but with the COVID situation, I'm gonna have to wait till probably after the first year and see where we're at. But my goal is then to have that redone, take it to them, we finally come up with the first draft and bring it here then for you to look at. If we have to then go back, get it exactly the way we think it should be, take it to the county attorney, have the county attorney, look at it legally, whatever, then eventually have either a revision or a rewrite, and there's a whole bunch of things. But my goal here today was just for you to look at this part.
Yeah.
You might just look at it, but as far as this one particular item, I've gone ahead and approved the permit. I haven't done anything as far as the violation or penalty. So, I'm not asking for you to tell me right now, but, it's not like I have to do it right now anyway. But as far as I'm concerned right now, it's different than being neglect.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? That's all I'm saying. All right? I can see the other parts, but this one was not. And so, to me, it doesn't matter, but I thought I had better bring it to your attention. And so, for your just consideration, otherwise, I think we just leave it, as we have the others.
I think you ought to give them a week. If you find one that don't have one, you've got a week to get it. Within that week you do not get it, then after the 7th day, you start paying the fines, like Rick said, double or triple them for your permit, and it's $100 a day.
And I basically have done that, but see, it's not written anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I've done it just saying, look, I need it as soon as possible, and here's your process, and then I said, as soon as I get it, I will process it, do a site visit, and get it taken care of. Worst case scenario is, let's say somebody started a building and they're not within the setbacks. Now you've got a problem, and if the neighbor won't okay it, so that's why all of this, along with a lot of parts of the ordinance, I go through it, and sometimes I think, I wish I could sit down with the people that wrote this to understand why they did it the way they did it. I'm not saying it was wrong.
Oh, yeah, but
I'm just
what was
the rationale.
What was the reasoning for it?
And so, I'm gonna eventually bring to you some revisions, that kind of
Okay.
thing. I just brought this one to you today, just for your consideration. I don't need action.
All righty.
I'm just gonna leave those things the way they are right now, unless I
Okay.
hear different from you.
I would just send a quick email to the surrounding counties and see what their policies are.
Well, I looked at some of them,
Well, I
and
mean,
they
it might give you
vary.
an idea as to how they're dealing with it.
They vary somewhat, but most of them are, a lot of them are prorated according to cost of the construction.
Okay,
For the permit itself, as far as the penalty is concerned, there's a wide variety of things.
Yeah.
So, we'll come up with something, but I just wanted to inform you of this one item, what I've done so far, so you know.
okay.
And then if you have any, anything else you thoughts or whatever, send me an email. I will include that when we go to the two-board, and I'll make sure that everybody has that as well.
No matter what, we're gonna look like the evil ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, but,
I'm just saying, we're gonna be the ones that either enforcing it or putting the penalty out. And then we'll be the bad people for doing what they were supposed to have done.
but that's the same way with traffic law or any kind of law,
Yeah.
And I don't think it needs to be, I think it's just too concise
Okay?
in the way it's written. I think it can be done better, and taking steps like Rick, you're talking about.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of different options, so we'll come up with something.
Okay, good.
Okay.
We better get into drainage, we gotta
Yep.
evaluate.
Sorry about that.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Randy, good luck with your deer hunting. Yes, so we have,
Josh is on here?
yep, Josh. Yep, there he is. So we have, Josh Cohen, Humboldt County Ministerial Association funding request. Hi, Josh.
I sent Peggy, documents. Did you guys all get that?
Sorry, it's right there.
She's passing
We'll
around.
just take a look at it, Josh.
Bruce has been helping with this project, you probably heard about
Give her a
it.
phone.
The Ministerial Association, over to Moline, relocate,
Josh, could you talk a little bit louder, please? It's
Dry.
very hard to hear you.
Can you hear me now?
A little
That's
better.
better.
UDMO and the food pantry are partnering and relocating the building downtown, 419 Sumner Avenue. It's right across from the law enforcement center. It's the former consignment shop. We entered a contract in November to purchase that building from Matt and Jenny Brown. And Jim Groenback and Tom DeWinter are gonna be remodeling it for us over the winter. And the goal is to move into the location in April or May of 2021. We're really excited about this project because it's gonna serve the community really well. It puts both the food pantry and UDMO in a much higher visibility location. It allows, so the gals at UDMO have been managing the food pantry for the last few years, and this will greatly increase their ability to do that, because right now, if they're in the office at the courthouse, they have to often shut down the office to go open up the food pantry over at the secondary roads building. So they'll be able to increase the hours that the food pantry is available. The whole building will be handicap accessible when it's finished. It's right around, I think it's 3,700 square feet. So it's got plenty of space for the office and the food pantry portion. So it's just it'll be a good fit for the community, and it takes a vacant building downtown and completely renovates it. It's gonna be basically a brand new building when it's done. So we're really excited about it. The Ministerial Association, we manage the finances for the food pantry out of our general budget, and we have sufficient funds right now in our account that we're gonna put $50,000 towards this project. And then we've had several businesses in town have stepped in with donations, and some of the churches have already donated, and some of the other churches are in conversations about making donations. And we are applying for a grant from the Humboldt County Community Foundation, and we also just applied for a grant from the city. The city has money for exterior improvements to downtown buildings. So we're asking the county for $20,000 to help fund this project.
All righty then. Bruce, you probably know about as much about this as anyone, being on that board.
I am on the board, and it's been one of those things that we've been looking, and this is gonna benefit us for the ability, like Josh said, to have it open basically 5 days a week. It'll also open up for the secondary roads to be able to have some training and whatnot in that room when the food pantry is moved out of there. So I think it's a win-win for us. I don't know where we'll be at when we start doing the budget. I guess whatever we can contribute, I think would be well worth the money, so.
It does make a lot of sense. I know you've kept us up to speed. Just so you know, Josh, Bruce has done a good job of keeping us informed throughout all this. And, yeah, it does seem to make a lot of sense to get this accomplished. I'm glad you're at the spot that you're at.
Yeah.
What was that?
Yeah, we're excited about it. It's been
upstairs out there,
folks
down up
have
there.
contributed. Grateful for all the work people put in. Ken, I see is on, the call team did a really nice article for last...
Possibly move into that building would be even
Yeah,
better, yeah.
$300 a month that we're paying down there.
Be better for them to move down there, actually, if there's room.
Yeah. That is correct, right, Josh? If Udmo, they will move their offices down there, and that will be their, office for 5 days a week, right?
Correct, yes, correct.
So it's a win-win for...
It is a big benefit to everything involved here.
Yeah.
Everything stated in this information, so.
The 60,000 being needed to be raised is for the repairs, or is that correct, or is that part of the purchase price?
Most of the repairs, the budget for the repair has mostly been covered already by donations, and so this would, the 60,000 would be mostly for the purchase price.
Oh, that's the purchase price and the more repairs, okay.
Now,
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, we feel like $60,000 would put us in a great spot to completely pay for the project,
We got a couple of
pay for the
floors
purchase
that
price,
are-
completely pay for the renovation.
Have to level them up.
ADA, wheelchair acceptable and all that,
Mhm.
they have to put a lift on the floors to make it, so they can go from one room to another.
Okay.
Well, that's good information. Does anybody have anything else for Josh?
I'd love to tell you, yep, we can give you the 60,000, Josh, but we have...
Well, they're asking for
a few-
20.
Or 20. I'm saying, I'd love to say we had 60,000 that we could do that, but we don't, so we'll have to see what we come when we do start putting the budget together.
Yep, yeah, I understand.
But it's always good to get this information out in front of everyone prior to that, so that was awesome.
Definitely.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much, Josh.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thanks, Josh.
Yep, thanks, folks.
All right, moving right along, looks
Can
like,
we do the claims quick?
we sure can if everybody's looked through them and wants to do that quickly.
I have a question on there, Peggy, there's a claim for, what was it, 180
Mileage for John.
John's mileage, is that to a meeting, or do you know where that meant?
Here you go.
About the 34th one down from the top or the first page.
Like 180 and change?
What time center you went to say?
About a 300-mile trip.
I didn't
County
know.
Attorney Conference in Cedar Rapids,
That's what I wondered.
Okay,
yeah, November 7th through the 11th.
okay.
That's fine.
Only question I had, Bruce had, I had.
But I didn't get the total, so I can't make the motion.
I'll make the motion then, I'll read it. I got $536,752.19. Drainage was $36,617 and a nickel.
And a nickel.
And then-
Is that what it was? I wrote 50 cents, but I must have been...
You can get different glasses.
Okay, I'll go with the nickel. All right, I'll second.
Okay, we've got a first and a second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Claims are approved.
Would you hand, okay, Eric, go back.
Yep. Okay, now, we can go into drainage.
I'll make a motion, we go into drainage.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
In drainage.
Okay, so we'll get Trish for you.
Let me sign this and get this off. Thank you for your investigative work.
I just look at them.
Now,
People, but I think that, you know what, why couldn't, on that, building stuff, why can't you go back towards the contractor and say, you're gonna get a fine? Why would you, as a contractor, start a project before
If you don't
you
have...
had a building permit in your hand to say, I can get a fine?
Well,
You're assuming that your
you're assuming that
relationship...
the owner's gotten the building permit.
you know what happens when you assume things.
Yeah.
Any contractor that I've ever had it in, they're the ones that
Say, you
they
need to
say, oh,
build.
this is gonna be a 12 by 12 or whatever the dimensions are, this is how it's gonna be. But they're the ones that usually help fill
the permit out.
the permit out anyway, so then they say,
Mhm.
why is the back from the city, well, it's in the process, but at least if it's in the process, we aren't chasing them from behind saying.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you put a little teeth in it where it starts costing a little bit more if you didn't get it.
That's what-
Now it's triple instead of $100, you got $300, that's gonna take a little bit more,
Yeah.
you know, so. I don't know. Everything needs to change over time.
I know, and I think that we put Randy in a heck of a predicament, because
Yeah.
when you go out there in the building, it's too close to something, and
Well, yeah, and that's what we're trying to prevent.
can't have a septic tank, well, okay. Should've been done before.
Okay, all good discussion. So on drainage, we have, DD 7, sub 2, file plans and specifications for tile improvements and set bid letting. So, Colin, can you hear us? So,
Good to hear everybody. Morning.
hi there, thank you for your patience.
Yep, no problem. So, yeah, I mean, this would be pretty simple, but, the hearing we had a few weeks ago where the project was approved to move forward with the improvements, the tile improvements to DD 7 sub 2. It's not a very big project, but it's about 1,500 feet of pipe, and it'll just cross one road there. I've got the plans, the construction plans, and the specifications ready so that it can go out to bid. And I sent to Peggy and Trish, project at a glance. I'm not sure if you have that in front of you. But I'll kind
No.
of go through that numbers and today's thing. Do you have that?
Trish does.
Where's this located at?
Sandy, I was gonna
This is
try
the
to
one with Dave Huntermeyer,
match it.
that was in here a couple, 3 weeks ago, maybe.
Make a copy of it.
It only comes up like Dropbox, and I can't access the files on my computer to upload that. I'll have to get that sorted out in the future if I'm on Zoom, make sure I can attach stuff. Yeah,
You guys email it to me too.
Yes.
what's your email?
Sloney, SLONY at Humboldt County IA.org.
Let me try to do that real quick.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
We're still, I think, looking for what do they call them, commissioners or whatever. Means Pat Hill, I think, resigned.
Yeah.
I think you just had enough.
Yeah.
Do we have, did anyone ask Brent Keenest if he was still gonna carry forward with that?
I think Brent is, I think we gotta find one more.
I know.
Mhm. I asked a couple people, and I got turned down on that.
Yeah, we got a couple other things too I'll bring up here in quick discussion that we're short of people. Still short of, I asked Randy before his thing, they don't have any, they need one more member for the zoning board too.
For the zoning board.
But I do have a couple people in mind, but I didn't know, and one person may do it, but I wanted to check with him and make sure that hadn't been filled, and he says it has not. And he would appreciate that along with his...
The one that I asked said no.
I got two, but I didn't know if, hadn't heard, so I thought I better ask.
The file should be on the way, Sandy. Does everybody else have those in front of them?
We're working on it.
Just running them off right now.
Yeah, run them through the...
Do you have anything else you can, get us up to speed on, Colin?
I guess one thing, I don't want, I'll just tear through it here. So one of the things that you've asked me to do was to include a plastic pipe option in the bid, for the bid. So we've got a reinforced concrete pipe as one option, and I have a bid alternate that would be plastic pipe. And I wanted to talk about that a little bit. As you'll see when you get this project at a glance, I've got a cost estimate for both options. plastic actually shows as a higher cost estimate. And then there's another document that's in there too, and this is more, I don't wanna go through this in too much detail today, but just something to take a look at. It says apples to apples, the comparison of dual wall, plastic, and reinforced concrete pipe. So, just a few of the reasons why the plastic ended up being even more expensive than the concrete is because of the standards that are in place for installing plastic pipes for public utility, public facility, which is what a drainage district tile is. So a couple of those things are, we talked about this a little bit, at the improvement hearing several weeks ago, but one of them is that you have to encase the pipe, the plastic pipe completely in crushed rock. So 4 inches of rock below the pipe, and then all the way around it, and then 12 inches above. Another thing is, something that's called a mandrel test. And so, plastic pipe is flexible, and they want a test done after it's installed to make sure that it hasn't deflected or deformed too much. So 5% deflection is the standard. And you run this, sorry about that. You run a mandrel through the pipe that's 5% less in diameter than the pipe itself, and then you can pull it through and passes the test. And so that testing is part of it, and then you gotta have manholes to be able to access the pipe at different locations, because you can't just pull it through a mile of pipe.
Right.
And then, those are kind of the major things, and if it doesn't pass the test, the contractor would have to rip out the pipe and put it back, put the
That
pipe
could be nasty.
at their expense. So those are some of the things that made the plastic a little bit more expensive, at least on my cost estimate. We'll see how it shakes out when the bids actually come in, but I did wanna let you know that. Oh, one other thing is, so the pipe, the concrete pipe, excuse me, we've got 18 and 15-inch pipe. Well, the plastic I've got is larger, 21-inch and 18-inch, and part of that is, even though it's dual wall, it's supposed to have an inner smooth liner. But what we found is when those are installed and pressure is put around them and how they're installed, is they start to re-corrugate, and so some of the corrugations on the inside of the pipe will start to show, and as part of that, I can try to show it here.
We see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, we have that.
We have it.
Well,
Yeah, that page shows that it starts, it was smooth when it was above ground, and then they put it in, and it starts being more rough looking on the inside of the pipe, but it doesn't have the same performance as the concrete, and to get that half-inch finish up, it had to up the pipe size one for the plastic. So, you all have the project at a glance in front of you now?
yeah,
Yeah.
Okay. So,
can I throw something out here, 'cause we're talking about plastic pipe?
yep,
Given you've researched that quite a bit, 'cause you've got a lot of information here, but we have the option, we can discuss it amongst ourselves, so we just, and given the fact that this is not a humongous project, as Colin stated, should we just forget the plastic pipe and not even go there? We just complicate matters. He spent more time researching plastic pipe than he has, designing the project.
Yeah.
well,
Because, we didn't, but, well, a drainage district did, a way big project with dual wall plastic pipe, correctly done and well done, and that was a much bigger project, to call it, which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Sub 511. So I'm just saying, do we need to complicate the matters, and we're fighting about plastic pipe, but we need to just get the particulars in order here for the project.
I think the only reason we requested it was giving a comparison, as concrete versus what?
The comparison to begin with is becoming kind of a headache here.
Well, it sounds like it.
For whatever reason, he's looking at it, I mean, I'm just throwing that out there.
You gotta look at the, each option as a possibility, so.
But you've already done all the work for the project, correct?
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
So we might as well throw it out there.
Okay, I just wanted,
He's already done the work.
okay, I just didn't wanna get hung up on a
Yeah.
technicality.
That would be my recommendation.
Okay,
This
okay,
is
that's
packet
fine.
Information, we already had this put together, so that wasn't
Okay.
part of the research,
Okay,
just so you know, but
Okay,
we have it set up that it's a bid alternate, so it doesn't, and it's all set up that way already, so it wouldn't hurt at all to put that out there with the bid, and
Okay.
they don't have to even fill that part out if they don't want to.
yeah.
But-
Okay, that's-
It might help push our concrete bids forward.
Okay. that was my thought process, that's fine. Okay, now that we've got that discussed, so we need to file the plans and the specifications.
Yep. And I'll just kinda go through a little bit of this. We got the base bid, my cost estimate for concrete pipe for construction is $67,000. And with the plastic, I got $81,000. Just to kinda get an idea of what we're talking about as far as the cost. Bid security, 5% of the bid, they'll have to put in with the bid. I've got a completion date of June 11th of next year, so that I can get, the goal is to get it in so that it can be used for this coming growing season and get in before it's too late to be able to plant or interfere with planting crop.
Yeah, 'cause they should be able to get in there and get something going.
That's the hope, yeah, that they have anywhere a reasonable spring, they should be able to get it done pretty quickly. It's a very big project, so they just need a couple weeks of good weather, and they should be able to get it done.
Okay,
So we can't set the bid letting till 40 days out, right?
That was from the hearing though, I think.
Filing the plans and specifications, and basically what will be the action item is asking for your approval of those, and then you would direct me to release this, to go out to bid basically today.
so yeah,
And you
Right.
set the bid opening date, which I had recommended January 11th, so that'd be a month from today, so it'd be out to bid for a month, and a lot of times we do 3 weeks, but with Christmas and New Year's, I thought it would be good to add an extra, yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
so basically, everything in front of us, we're going to file the plans and specifications, and then we're gonna probably say, then that will let you let the bid, and then we expect to have that completed by the 11th of January.
Bid opening, but it would be,
What is that?
we'll send an email out to contractors that do drainage work, letting them know that
I
the
thought we had that
plan
one set
specs
for
are
the
available for them to
21st,
look at,
or
and start
the
researching,
25th.
deciding if they want to bid or how much they would bid.
Right, but
And then they would have, go ahead.
you were saying that then you would expect the bids to be in, then you put January 11th as that, time to get everything submitted.
That's.
Okay,
Yeah,
yep.
yeah.
That's fine, okay.
Well,
January 25th is the next meeting, right?
Yeah, okay.
well, before we do the date on that, we do have to have an action on filing the plans and specifications to do
All
anything,
right,
so.
so I'll make a motion to file the plans and specifications for the, DD 7 sub 2 project.
Okay, got a first and a second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that is taken care of.
All right,
Now we seem to be having discussion on our bid date.
well, I will set make a motion to set the date for January 11th at probably 9:30. 9:30, does that sound good with you guys?
Yeah.
That work, Colin? We got January 11th, 9:30.
Now, I have a question for you, Colin. When you, if we're still on this Zoom thing, will you have the bid sent to you there? Or are they gonna come to the courthouse, to the auditor's office? We'll always have them at the auditor's office by 9:30 on the 11th.
That's what I would put in the specs here, yeah, have them to the auditor's office.
Okay.
I would really wanna try to be there for that and open
Well,
them
we'd rather you were here too, I would.
in person.
Okay.
We'll be cautiously optimistic that it will not be at least any worse, and we had a few folks in here today, so you just put your hazmat suit on with all your PPE, and you'll be fine.
Well, and today was as much about not feeling maybe like it was worth making a trip over there to file these, but for the bid opening, I definitely think it would be if at all possible.
Yeah, we'd appreciate it if
Yeah.
you show up.
Yes, sir. Do we need a formal motion for that date?
I think I did.
You did, you got a second?
I set the 11th.
Did we vote on it?
9:30, not yet.
No, we didn't.
Okay, that was our discussion.
Yep.
Okay, so now we have that first, second discussion. All those in favor of January 11th at 9:30?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries for that date and time. I think we're good, Colin. You have anything else?
I do not. Any other questions from anybody?
Nope, I think we're good.
Trish?
No.
That should take care of it for this project.
Okay.
Thank you, Colin. Thank you. Okay. That's interesting stuff.
Anything else on the agreement?
I do have a couple things. Well, I'll start with, Sandy, are you there? Okay, so this goes back to, it's in Cornish, section 29. It's Sandy's district, but as I said, Sandy and I have been talking back and forth, and Trish got word from, it's Doug Marshall had a work order. There was an established work order for some ditch bank repair. He was not too comfortable with that when he got there, because it's not just one or two spots, as stated, it's several. Let me see if I can find, just to give you a reference.
By John Fay's,
Excuse me?
John Fay and Nostrum's.
No, yeah, so it's DD2, are we, I think we're in 29...
Is it on Iowa?
Yes, sir. Where the heck is second 29?
Iowa, down there, blacktop, just north of...
Yeah, it's up 349. North.
Why am I not finding it? 8, 9...
Oh, over here.
Oh, okay, are we in the wrong,
That one
okay.
right there.
Right, yeah. 29?
Curve.
Yep, it's right here. So it was for the area, this is Iowa Avenue, this is C-49.
Along the road there a little bit.
Or this is C-49, no, this, yeah, it's not, it's on the west side. And there's a spot, they said there's a spot here and a spot there. Well, in all fairness, and it's particularly on the south bank, there's several locations, and Doug and I took a really hard look at that to right where it curves. There's a very egregious spot right at this curve. And the bank is just slumped.
Yeah.
Some spots, what's that, Dave?
We flew over that one when we inspected them and broke that one up.
Yeah.
For
It is-
FEMA?
Yeah, and it's been a troublesome area.
Yes, it has.
since
It's
it
very steep banks and very sandy soil, and very much moisture the last 6 years. This is all from, so, we looked at this, and like I said, we didn't go any further than around this curve. And there's, I don't know, several, some bigger, some smaller areas of sloughing because of the steepness of the bank and the poor quality of the soil. So, Doug said, what do we do? And here's one thing that he gave for the cost of doing particularly the larger areas and probably the smaller. He had conferred with some other people that have fixed banks like this. They've had really good success at to kind of clean that up, you know, clean up the bottom of the ditch, clean up the bad area, and then, get some riprap type erosion stone, and rather than replace it entirely with, the bad spots entirely with that, is to have that available to kind of mix that back in with the soil, when they pack that back into those areas to maintain the stability. Because like Doug said, if you just use the stuff you take out, and try to pack it in,
Go right back.
most of it's just gonna go, the next time we get the big rain events, which we will, it's gonna end up doing the same thing. So, he said the probably most cost-effective way is to have material such as a riprap-ish erosion stone to mix back in. Some places will take more, some less, depends on the side of it. And that will be the least cost methods, because if you have to haul in better materials, i.e. clay component soil, that's gonna be very expensive, because you're gonna replace all the soil back that you take out. So, anyway, I just I told Sandy I wanted to run this by everybody, and Doug would like to know, and we thank him for not just going off on a wild fixing adventure. We need that's the distance I showed you. So we determined basically it's from the road, it's approximately a half mile around that curve, those areas. Should we give him a set amount to work with that he can, within reason, we don't need it to the penny, because he doesn't know, because how long it's gonna take. He can't give us a fair estimate, he said.
Something he hasn't done before.
Well, he has, but he said, some of these it's not like cleaning out a ditch and you can just figure cubic yards.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, I could give you a pretty fair estimate.
What if we told him to get, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 loads side dumps of riprap and see how far that gets him?
That's what we're looking at.
Kind of calculate for the distance, I think you...
Yeah, but so he can't really give us an estimate to agree on. We almost need to give him what's a fair monetary, and he said he will keep in touch with all of us.
Basically, you're saying, go ahead and do this as a time and material job.
Right.
Like a work order, but don't exceed this amount.
Well, or give him an amount to get to, because the area I showed you, and looking at that, and I asked Doug, and he can't really write an estimate to say, this is a $5,000 project, fixing in that area, or this is a $25,000 project. So I think it's fair maybe to start with, so we don't exceed a certain amount.
Give him like a time and materials not to exceed.
And he said he will relay back, he said, I will get...
And then we go out and inspect it and see how it looks and see and then progress further.
And he said, I will let you know when I get a partial ways of the area defined and let you know where I'm at. No matter what dollar amount we come up with, and say, this has cost us this much to this point.
Well, this is the time to be fixing it, when we
Yeah.
don't have hardly any water.
And it's work, it is, and he can probably, weather permitting, get the area in question done.
I know on the South Bank,
It's
where
terrible.
John Fay used to be, it was, we put down jute stuff in that, like a covering, and then seeded it, and there was rock and everything in
Yes,
there too.
and there's and then
But I
if you...
think it has failed too.
No, with the places
Is
on
that-
this side where it curves, it crosses the road.
Yeah,
And if you can see that angle.
yeah.
Some time ago, they did essentially the same thing along this bank,
Yeah.
where they cleaned it up, put rock material in to stabilize it, and it's fine.
That's what I was wondering.
Yeah, it's still
It's
stabilized.
doing good?
I'm not
Yeah.
sure we didn't do that, didn't
Ben worked on some right along
The road.
the road on the other
Bridge,
side.
Yeah,
That section's been bad.
it's been, yeah.
But it's holding, what we've done has worked evidently.
Yes, I looked at that, then on you can see the angle,
Mhm.
that's not solid. That's solid right there, so it does work, so his theory is good, but I said I would bring this in front of everybody, because it could
We're
be
looking at a half a mile.
we defined that, it could be further, but I said we have to have a starting and a stopping point, we can't say this area for now. What's a fair amount so he kinda knows when he's out there, because we don't want him to say, Doug to say, I'm gonna go partway down there and I'm gonna tell you it costs this much, we may be shocked. But if we give him an amount, you have to not
Yeah.
exceed this without further approval. What's fair?
He can't give us an actual estimate, but he's for sure it's not gonna go over that,
No.
minimum is that we can't go over that we have to.
Oh, 50,000?
Yeah, 50,000, yeah.
With that area defined, no. No, no matter what.
Take that.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's that, Dave?
Well, there's been
Under
several,
FEMA.
there was repairs there before too.
Yeah, there's been ongoing repairs for years on this
It's
area.
like every year there's something.
Yeah.
Oh.
Doug's fixed some, other contractors have fixed some.
But that was part of the stuff that we turned in for FEMA, so that's why.
Oh, I don't know that.
If any of that would be still,
If it was fixed once, it would be,
but I don't know if we fixed that since last year when we turned it in. 'Cause that was part of the sloughing that we had.
I'll look at the work order
All right.
Yeah, see if
and
it,
make sure it's,
well...
I just wanna be fair to everybody,
FEMA,
mainly the
Correct.
district.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a dollar amount in your head? I mean, you've been out and looked at it.
I mean, that defined area, and Doug they fixed, well, that's what initiated his call. They did fix one small spot,
Mhm.
close to the road. It wasn't a huge expense, of course. I think we have to put, and this is, there again, it doesn't mean that this is all the district would spend on it,
Yeah, right.
but, I mean, the egregiousness, the cost of the materials, the time, I mean, I think you're gonna have to have a reasonable number of somewhere between probably around 15,000 is to get anything accomplished out there, to get
Well,
any
you're
distance,
probably gonna have $5,000 in rock.
at least. And even though he's gonna be judicious and not just dump solid rock and
Mhm.
take out old, mix the rock in with the soil so it will extend the rock, it's still gonna be expensive.
Yeah.
this is something that's reoccurring, that we make sure that, I mean, I know we can't say 100% that it's not gonna have to happen again, but should we look into it to see what can be done so it doesn't happen again?
That's Sandy, that's the idea of the rock, because where they put back the sloughs with, erosion material, like riprap type material, it's held very well.
Okay.
So that's why it came up,
Pick a number and say if you hit
Yeah, go to
the
the
number of 15,000, then we need to know where you're at and how much.
you can't exceed this number, it's up, but I didn't wanna, that's a big number. I'd be comfortable with telling somebody 5, I'm not comfortable telling them
Yeah.
20. And he said he will let us know how it's going, but, or do we make it 20? 'Cause like I said, from here, it almost kinda gets worse. And it's there's a very few on the north side, most of them are on the south. There's a couple very large distances. And then this is where our stopping point was, it's right around this curve. This one right around the curve is a big egregious, it just sloughed off like
The
a...
curve, and that's where.
Yep, right where, and it just sloughed off, I mean, for many feet of the bank. So, or, do we say 20? But he,
Is it as bad or worse than the one that you and I went, and looked at?
It's not good.
Fall?
oh, the one that was on the other side of the big culvert? It's- it's kind of about the same, except there's just so many of them, Sandy.
Right.
It's just-
How much was that one? That one was...
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's also...
That, just, bank repair was probably...
Fixes the problem for...
No, it was, maybe 6,000 or 8,000, but that was replaced with all riprap.
that was Young's.
Yeah.
That was a big one.
That was replaced, remember?
Yeah, I know, but I thought it was more than 6,000.
Well, it was, because he included fixing that big, concrete tile.
Oh.
That was all together.
You're just talking the slough off about 6,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I mean, Sandy brings up a good point, but now that one was repaired because of the location, was cleaned up, replaced entirely with rock.
Yeah.
And there again, brick gets expensive, so I don't know, this is just my thought, given what I looked at and what it's gonna take to do it correctly and the extent, I would not exceed 20,000 to start.
That's fine with me.
I'm good with that.
Yep.
And-
Get it done right.
Yep. And Doug will keep us in the loop as he progresses. We won't just go to 20 and...
Where we're at it, when we get close, I'd like to be notified when we get to 15.
Yep.
I mean, how far are we from being done?
He said, I will let you know as I get going down the
Right.
ditch, maybe two-thirds, or a third, or a fourth, or a half of the way, and say, here's where we're at today with our expense.
I just don't wanna go...
Did you get that, Sandy? Doug will keep in touch with us on it.
Yep, that sounds good.
Do we need a motion on that, or what?
No.
Make one.
No, 'cause it's,
Okay,
It's just a
awesome.
work order.
I just wanted to tell you, 'cause we were in drainage. And
Yeah.
so if I relay that back to Doug...
It's a big project.
Because it's just, everybody knows then, there's no surprises.
Put that on Eric's account.
Oh, it's Sandy's district, it goes on Sandy's.
Yeah, we'll use your credit card.
Thank you. That,
Well, thanks for sharing.
I'll relay that back to, I could just see this getting out of hand, but it needs to be done,
Yeah,
because it
and that
is,
way everybody knows what's going on out there.
and, yep,
There's no surprises.
yep. And I do wanna commend Doug for relaying back to Trish and to all of us, that he didn't just go out there and start doing this.
Right.
Because we knew it was gonna be more than a $2,000 work
And
order.
hopefully it'll be a cure rather than
It will be.
a Band-Aid.
And that was the way he looked at it too. He said that if we don't do it this way, I'll be back out here the next time we get the 5-inch rain.
Trish,
Eric, thank you for going to look at that, I appreciate your expertise.
Okay.
Oh, you're welcome, thanks Sandy, you're welcome, and we just wanted to do it, I appreciate what you said, let's do it right once, instead of going back out there and fixing it every 5 years.
Yep, it
Um,
actually costs the district more money that way.
I have one more question for everybody. This is a question for me, with all these work orders that Trish, I had to sign. They all make just fine sense, they're just completed work orders, but there's one, and I've been aware of this one, and what it was, and what it is, it's a private tile outlet into a ditch.
Was this Mike Jacobs?
Yes.
Yeah, he called and I talked with him. I think he brought it up last Monday.
I was gone last Monday.
Oh, maybe it's 2 weeks ago.
Maybe I asked you about it 3 weeks
Maybe
ago.
it was on the phone I talked with you about it.
Possibly.
Yeah, I think it was when you called me and told me.
But, so we have, which would be no issue, we always know that the pipe goes back to the district,
Mhm.
because it goes into a ditch, and it's a drainage district. But this is not in conjunction with any big project, this is just a private tile outlet. But for whatever reason, we also got the bill for the installation of the pipe.
Mhm.
So what is everybody's thoughts on that?
Well, when I was visiting with Mike about it, he said it was more like a bait failure is why they had to replace the pipe. Is what he was telling me.
It actually, this is the unfortunate thing, and that's why I went out and looked at what I just described. A picture's worth 1,000 words as per
Yeah.
usual, but physically looking at something's worth more than that.
Yeah.
And this is one none of us knew about till after the fact that was replaced, which is fine that it was replaced, 'cause that's why you want it done, so you don't have more problem. All I could see was the pictures, and it wasn't particularly egregious. Yeah, there was a little bit of bank erosion,
Mhm.
but I asked the contractor, did you have to haul in dirt, fill, rock, whatever?
Yeah.
No, we just replaced the pipe and put it back in, and a picture of the pipe, and it looked excellent after the pipe was replaced. So I'm fine either way, this is one that we've talked how many times, we don't like to say gray area,
Yeah, it
but
is.
it is, the policy is private tiles are the responsibility of the owner of the tile.
Mhm.
If their outlet fails, in other words, the pipe rusts out or ice breaks it off, the district always pays for the pipe, and they always pay for
Yeah.
replacing the
Or
pipe.
they start sucking dirt at the
Yep.
end of the pipe out the
Yep,
field.
so we don't have to get some big project involved to fix the bank. So, I'm fine either way. Yes, was there a little bit of erosion per the picture without having the opportunity to physically look at it? Yeah, there always is. I've seen somewhere it's egregious and it takes out a chunk of ditch bank bigger than this desk, this
Yeah.
table.
Mhm.
Then it's like, well, whatever, it's a drainage district order,
Yeah.
even though it's private tile. Unfortunately, it shouldn't get to that, but if that was I'm fine either way. it's kind of that gray area thing we don't like to get into, but we've been following, I know you've dealt with a couple that, long story short, went back to the landowner to pay, and I'm fine either way, I just want, I just wanna know if
The reason
this...
we have that is so that everybody uses the same pipe going into the ditch, it all gets installed the same way, so we have uniformity, and we don't have somebody just running their plastic into the ditch.
Right.
And let it hang over the group over the side.
Yep, that's why, yeah, they always, the district always kind of more or less gives them their outlet pipe.
Yeah.
So are we,
So, I guess my question is, what do we do with...
what are we doing with it?
Yep,
Well, I told, Mike called me the other day, he was describing it to me, and I said, being it was like more of a bank failure, is what he was telling me. I thought we should pay for the
Well,
portion of it.
you know,
didn't-
I normally
I
go...
didn't see it either.
I normally go that route, like I said, I did see the pictures. It wasn't that egregious, but
Well, it's your area up there, isn't it? Yeah.
it is, and I'm very familiar with where it is, I just didn't get
Mhm.
called to look at it. I always prefer looking at things that are
Yeah.
questionable. You know, we don't need to go out and look at every tile repair that's a cut and dried, the tile broke, somebody went
Yeah.
out and fixed it. But when it gets to be bigger, like this, like one we just talked about, so there, notice too that, you know, landowners think that anything that involves, that they have a drainage ditch going through their property, that anything that goes by that ditch is the district's responsibility, but it's really not.
Yeah,
They have responsibilities too, you know.
okay.
So, I don't know, I guess,
Can, Yemlin break it down?
it is broke down, yeah.
Totally
Pipe-
broke down.
Pipe, district, so I mean, there's no question, and then, you know, installation of said pipe, which is, I thought, a little more than I thought it was gonna be, but, I mean, it's,
That's what I was wondering, just to dig up a pipe and put it back in is...
so that's a big excavator, but, I mean, you know, kinda like Bruce says, sometimes, you know, you're the bad guy, but I've had to tell, I mean, I looked at one where the bank was, there was a private outlet, this was a different district, but they're both private outlets, a bigger one on the south side of a ditch, and a smaller one on the north side. The smaller one on the north side did need a new pipe, but really had created very little, if any, damage. The one on the south side, for whatever reason, cut a hole about the size of this desk. And I said to the landowner, of course, he let land on each side, I said, I guess, you know, there's so much bank failure, the district's gonna pay for this one, but you want the pipe replaced on the north side, which you should, that's your private tile there as well. And they said, well, I don't like it, but I can understand it. So, I just wanted to bring that up. I mean, I've got this, I can sign it, we can do that, but it's that gray area, and I've all Rick's run into it, I know, because we've talked
Yeah.
about it, where you've had somebody hounding you, it's about, well, the district should pay for this, and it was every culvert
Yeah.
was a private, and they didn't get it submitted properly when the project was going through, and they, I believe, ended up paying for the installation of the
Yeah.
pipe, so. Anyway, I mean, it's, like I said, so I have seen where it's district-related when the bank has just failed, and we have to fix it, like we just talked about, but when it's just the pipe broke, you know, we kinda gotta try to get out of that gray area as much as we can, so.
And maybe we should change our policy so there isn't a gray area.
Well, we pretty much have the policy, true?
Yeah, we have policy. I just see as though if you have a pipe failure, you don't wanna have to replace it yourself. And if it's going to get replaced, if you have, bank washout with it, just wait until the bank washout. I mean,
Yeah, that's the problem.
it's kind of a,
If you, yeah, 'cause then all of a sudden you dump all that dirt into the ditch, and then you gotta clean the ditch away, and...
yeah. I mean, it would be better if they just replace it right away, if they
Mhm.
catch the pipe. But if they're thinking, well, I don't wanna have to pay for the whole thing to be dug up or replaced or whatever, wait.
But it doesn't benefit the district if it's a private pipe, right?
No.
No, but you gotta protect the integrity of the ditch.
Bingo.
I understand that, that's what
That's
I'm
the
saying.
thing, it's...
But there's a
I mean,
landowner's responsibility for their tile system, and that's part of their tile system, and the reason the district, whichever one they're in, always pays for the pipe, like Rick said, they want a good structural pipe to avoid ditch failures.
Is it the responsibility of the district to make sure everybody's private outlets are good?
No,
Not really.
No.
no.
But it should be the responsibility of the landowner or tenant to actively monitor that.
Maintain them.
Maintain, and if they don't, maybe they should pay, maybe they should pay for the damage that it caused to the ditch. I
Well,
don't know.
I mean, you can, and we don't, and there's that, I'd hate using gray area, but that's the thing sometimes, and it's not usually egregious, it's not, it's just that they didn't look at it, and then it did cause a major enough problem, then it's just like a district repair to the ditch that
Yeah, but then,
they didn't really mean to, but then it said, oh, I got my pipe fixed too, and it was all private tile to begin with. So, I just, you know,
It's a tricky situation.
well, and we're fair, we don't go out and see the big, issue where a bank pipe has failed.
we do have the authority as supervisors to say, hey, this pipe is bad, we're gonna pay for the pipe, you're paying for the labor to install it, you can do it yourself, we're gonna hire it done.
Yep.
I mean, we do have that authority to do that. So maybe we should just keep it like we are,
I
pay for
agree.
the pipe, because it ain't the district's responsibility to pay for everybody's outlet.
No, because, yeah, they wanna blame it back to the district, but the fact that it starts bothering the district structure, being the ditch, is their lack of maintenance, if you will.
Yeah.
And, you know, and normally, I mean, yeah, like you said, Rick, if you had a backhoe, normally you have to hire someone, 'cause
A
they...
lot of farmers have their own backhoes and they maintain their own
And-
stuff.
Right.
They call any of us up and say, hey, I got a thing going bad and I'm gonna replace it, and we know it's a private tile, by all means, you can send the cost of the pipe into your district that you're in, and if you incur a bill, well, you're either gonna pay yourself or you're gonna pay the contractor.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I can, you know, run into this quite a bit, probably because I have a lot of drainage area to look at, but, and I don't wanna be unfair to any of the, landowners, but by the same token, you know, it is their tile system.
Yeah.
You know, we're just tasked with the drainage district's tile system
That's right.
that we are just always working on, but, so I mean, or if in fairness, I mean, yeah, it caused a little bit of erosion in a drainage district structure. You know, do they pay for part of it? Do we just say, okay, I got a work order sitting in front of me, we sign it, and this guy won this one because he bribed the two of us?
Well,
I probably said no, and you said yes, I don't know.
I say, let's keep it the same, let's say, keep it where the district pays for the pipe, landowners pay for the labor.
I agree.
Yep, and that's where we've always been, that's the premise I have done.
It just keeps it cleaner.
Yep.
I know there's gonna be occasions where, like I looked at, of course, that was a county, a lot of county pipes are different. This is
Right.
where the water came over the bank, washed the whole bank out because there was a pipe through the bank, you know, surface drain got plugged,
Yep,
so that come over the bank, took the whole edge of the bank out.
yep, but that was a district repair then,
Yeah,
yep.
so, all right.
Well, so this one, just, 'cause it's got his name on there, do we just send it back or say?
We'll just send it back.
We'll do the pipe.
Pipe is paid for, that's done, 'cause it's separate.
I'll call Mike and tell him.
Okay, if you would, 'cause
Yeah.
he called me, I told him,
I thought we talked about that, maybe it was a different something, or maybe I just dreamt it too.
well, we've had the similar conversations, so it's easy to get confused,
You're
but...
watching ESPN, I mean, ESP.
And, like I said, I guess I would say to the landowners, you know, we're all available to go look at these different projects.
Yeah.
And if you look at it and you deem it's more of a back to the district, that you can say that this is more the benefit of the whole district, it will become a district
Well,
thing.
more pictures before something is done is always sell better. I mean, the
That-
more pictures they
Yeah.
have to prove their point, we're listening, if we don't get out there.
Yep.
But when you're
The
trying to...
picture, or at least the...
Yeah, it's the fact.
It's pretty easy to send a picture,
Right.
and if there's even a concern, it's not too difficult to go out and take a look at it.
We're still spending taxpayer money.
Exactly.
That's the...
That's why we're called trustees, And trustees can be trustees of, you know, an estate. We're
Yeah.
just trustees of the districts. And Bruce is exactly right. We're spending the
Yeah.
landowners' money in that district every time we sign off on one of these
Yeah,
work orders.
they're the ones that pay it.
So you can clarify that, 'cause he called you last.
Yeah, he called me the other day and asked me about it.
I understand where everyone's coming from, but they always want the, you know,
Yeah.
and if you wanna do it, there again, how, you know, you start splitting hairs and it's 50/50,
It gets difficult.
It does. And if it's egregious, it usually goes back to the district.
Better
but if it's-
keep it simple.
Yep.
All right.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Anything, Chris?
Excuse me, what?
You got anything?
Oh, on that one with Russ Nave, that was an outlet, did you get a chance to look at that with him yet, or?
Yes. Well, I didn't physically, but I understand it.
Okay.
And actually, I'm gonna see, well, I think we all should check, Eric Eady happens to be a drainage district attorney, to ask this question. Can show you that one. I should have brought my laser pointer, I was going to.
Avery 22, maybe? Avery something.
22.
See, nice if they had the section numbers in dark color on that map.
I know, it's really hard.
And then we need a little step stool there too.
Is that it?
Yes, right here. Good, I was looking a little farther north. There is DD 32,
Yeah.
clearly defined. There's a tile system in it. But the tile system outlet's right there. What this is essentially, there's a tile bulkhead right here.
Yeah.
There's a natural gully, and that natural gully goes and it's got a culvertish type thing of whatever sort underneath the road. Then it continues on a natural gully on its merry way to the river. The area in question is from the bulkhead to the road, so just on the south side. So it's probably not over 300 feet. It's just getting silted in, trees, brush, cruddy. Of course, it is all downhill, and the water is gonna go down, so not much of it, it's not the flashiest going north, but it's mostly right on the south side. As you can see, it's not, it's not in, it just, the distance
It's out
south
of
of
the
the district, but it's just a short distance. So, my conversation with Russ, and my question to the drainage district person, just using Eric Eady, because I talked to him about odd things like this, and can we get, which is essentially just cleaning out some brush and trees, and maybe cleaning a little bottom of the ditch to keep it more of a straight shot, can that be back to that drainage district?
Yes.
You think so?
You have the right to go, is it 200 yards into a public stream to clean your outlet?
Yep. And this
I
isn't,
do believe it's 200 yards.
this isn't even a stream, it's not like where the dredge ditch ends and
Yeah.
the natural stream
Natural
starts
stream.
all over the place.
The only thing is, you gotta get permission from the landowner.
Well, there's no problem there, 'cause the person asking about it is the one that
Wants
is,
to
yeah.
do it, yeah.
So, they have, yeah. So,
I don't know if we can, it'd be nice if you could kind of maintain it somehow with some brush and weed control after it's...
we could.
Like-
Well, don't you,
'Cause it's-
speaking of, when you get the brush and weed control, that all gets billed back to each district it was done in, correct?
Correct.
There's no issue with that either. It's back to that District 32.
Mhm.
If that landowner would like to give the district an easement to maintain the outlet, basically all they gotta do is write up a little written agreement, put it recorded in the recorder's office, and they can do that.
Then it's sound. I mean,
Yeah, that way if he sells the land down the road, they still have an outlet.
To say that
An
this is,
easement.
basically, you wanna refer that back to the drainage district that
The
it's covered.
expense goes back to the drainage
Yep.
district to maintain the
Make
outlet
it-
from the bulkhead to the road or
So
whatever.
that if it's, you know, ever any maintenance done on it, or the weed control can get in there, that it's,
That would be at the landowner's expense, right?
Yeah.
Easement and stuff.
Yeah,
and-
yeah,
It wouldn't be...
No, I know, it wouldn't be much.
No, I think they'd be thrilled with that,
Yeah.
because I can understand that.
Probably the same landowner that's in the district.
Yeah.
So,
Yep,
Well, and I think as a drainage district, we can file it under a miscellaneous or whatever, in the recorder's office for no cost.
yeah.
It would
Yeah, that's a technicality, but a very inexpensive one.
Yeah.
Right.
Just to tie that, because, yeah, technically it would be private property, and like you
Correct.
said, Rick, if it got sold down the
So
road...
then you have to ask that owner to do it, if you put it, record it, then they know the easement's there, and...
I don't think there'd be any issue with them doing that.
Mhm.
In fact, I don't wanna speak for them, but I think they'd probably pay, because that isn't gonna cost them. Okay,
Sandy, have a question?
Sandy?
No, I said that was a really good idea, good point, thanks, Rick.
Yeah,
Well, perfect, that's my drainage questions from the past week, so, because when I was visiting with Russ, I said, the only way I can see that the expense is gonna go back to the district that it comes out of.
yeah.
And
They'll share the cost.
just like if they fix the tile. Okay, perfect.
He did call and say he burned it off.
Well, that's fine.
I'm like, ooh.
That's
I said,
okay.
well, just be careful, because it's part of the, waters of whatever.
Oh, we won't say anything.
So we'll just have to carry through with what we're doing afterwards.
After it's on TV.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, yeah. I think once we get it established, it'd be great to... 'cause
Well, that's
it has
kind
been
of
overgrown.
add it to and get the easement from or
Yeah.
for, yep. Nope, I think that's awesome.
Yeah, 'cause, that's kinda how we were treating, on Ellen and DD 10 out here.
With that
To
keeps
go
going.
in and pull out all there's an old bridge in there, and trees had fallen down, and the guy asked for an easement to go in and clean it,
Okay,
so.
no, that's awesome, yeah, and there's a lot of districts, I've seen other ones that are like that.
Yeah.
Where that
'Cause they
district ends at that bulkhead.
Then it really turns to crap on downstream.
But, and it's, yes, and some of them worse than others,
Mhm.
but, no, that's awesome. So anything else? We got that resolved?
Nope, I have a work order for Rick for
Okay,
Brandon Meyer.
okay, you got that wrote up?
I guess a report, the D-18 main ditch is done.
Oh.
There is a branch spur, if you wanna call it, that is not, but, that's the last ditch cleaning in 18, and plus then they have a lot of culvert work to go back and leveling of spoils and such. Tackled a couple of, private, field drives with excellent results,
Do you want this?
No.
Okay.
and cleaned out a box culvert on, I'm not entirely sure what the road is.
There's a book you might want to read too,
Is that,
start on that, it is.
oh, was that up there on 18 where they cleaned it?
Well, no, where you said, you know where those culverts
Yeah.
were, and then just, you keep going north, whatever that, one that goes past the old Kenny Boylan Bakery, the gravel road.
130,
Maybe 130, no, it's gravel.
South of that, 140th.
But we're a box culvert, and they had the ditch all clean, and then they got their little skid loader and cleaned out the box culvert, so the stuff from the north, and it's really nice, very nice project. And on DD 5, Brandon Meyer is slowly but surely getting that done. He reassured us all that cleaning project will be done by the end of this year.
And he had the same problem with a couple of crossings under the road,
Also,
Culverts.
at those,
and I referred those back to Ben. One was a wooden box culvert thing that was small and kind of falling apart.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then,
one's a big concrete culvert, and I actually have looked at those several times. I had the Peterson operation take a look at that. They are cleanable. I mean, you can sure ask Ben if he wants to tear those up and replace them, but they're not failing.
Oh, okay.
Even the old wood one isn't.
okay, and he just, I don't know if Brandon was terribly interested in having to go do that.
He's not.
But if he has to, he will.
No, I physically showed those to Rick and Travis, and wood one they thought was pretty jettable, because there's not really that much sediment in it, it's small old wood, it's just kind of a neat looking thing, and they said, I've never seen one of these. And then big concrete one is structurally fine, but it's got a lot of dirt in it, and the problem is that it goes, of course, under the road, and to the south, that's where that ditch starts. So there's not very much of an area that water even goes through that, but there is a couple tile outlets that do outlet. But they said it's doable. It'd be something that could get done next year. Because Brandon's idea was, well, you just rip these, culverts, whatever, out and replace them. I do that in Wright County all the time, I thought, boy. If they're failing, we replace culverts, but these aren't failing. And plus, it's also on a level B road,
Yeah.
and I think it's gonna be hard to justify the expense of
Which side of the hog building is it on? Is it a little-
east,
It's east of the hog building?
yes, all east, so.
Yeah.
But that's all it's going, we're getting there.
Meyer took his, what do you call that thing, dozer to 4 and 59 last week to get some leveling done there. I had a couple landowners call and concerned that it wasn't going to get done. So, got that taken care of, hopefully.
Okay.
Those are good to go.
Is that it?
Anything else drainage related?
What about
Well,
George
is there-
Stewart? Did you get all the applicants all through and everything finished with Peggy?
Yep,
When are you guys gonna start at, interviewing?
we started last week.
Oh, you started already?
Yep, and I'm not sure where Peggy is on the process on that. She'd have to
Okay.
tell you where she's at.
Okay. I don't have nothing. I'll make a motion to go out of drainage.
I made that.
He didn't make a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We're just waiting for a second.
I'll second.
Okay, we got a first and a second to go out of drainage, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Out of drainage. Thank you, Trish.
Yep.
I think honestly, he's just working the system.
Yeah, I'll give him a call.
I think if you tell him what I think,
Yeah.
because I could have those pictures on my phone anymore, but it just wasn't egregious.
Yeah, that's good with me, 'cause we gotta stick to it.
Yeah, say, unfortunately, if it had been a hole this big, well, I wouldn't have said it's your fault. I said, okay, fine, just go ahead and fix it and bill it all to the district, but...
And even those, that where they get bad, if it's not from like the district pipe that goes through the bank that got plugged, then you
Right,
have a run over it, washes out the bank and takes the pipe with it, then I can understand it, but when it's just like, oh, it came separated back in the field, now it sucked all the dirt in,
yep.
that's still the farmer's responsibility.
It is, but we've been pretty lenient on some of them.
Yeah, we need to be more stringent.
Yep,
on-
and they don't like it, but
No, I know.
I had one, with, it was in DD 18.
Because I know on this one that we're gonna clean up here is 29, I think it is. Yeah, 29. When I was out looking at it, there's lots of places back from the bank
She'll be back in a minute.
Okay.
where that's happened.
Yep.
I mean, you could drop this desk in there and you wouldn't see it, you know.
Yeah,
There were several of those.
I had one on 18, and that whole thing of getting those crossings and stuff had just worked awesome. And the landowner said, hey, I know this is a private tile. And I said, okay, I know it is too, because there's no district tile in this area coming into the ditch. Well, the contractor boogered it up. Of course, I asked the contractor, I said, no, it was boogered up when we got to it. And then he said, okay, you know, gosh, you got the guys here, can they replace? I said, well, I'll ask them, because Mark Kellner, helped a lot with that, taking those big pipe in and out. He said, sure. And he said, it's your tile. He said, you're gonna pay him to do it, means he's here, but the district will pay for the 12-inch pipe.
Oh, I was gonna say that thing's gonna cut off in 10 minutes.
Oh, better hurry.
Yep.
Yeah, we're ready.
So, anyway, he said, oh, I understand, and never was, so. That claims,
Just gotta do the...
I guess we just have the transfer.
For the debt.
Yeah, transfer debt, and you done claims.
And we also need to make sure that we get that, file that for the manure management
Get that on next week's.
next couple of weeks. There you go.
Ask for Nathan. Usually it's been January, isn't it?
Well, we have
Cards for you guys?
whatever time in December.
Oh, thank you.
January.
And then you each got one of these,
Me.
one for Dave and one for Bruce.
No, thank you.
One for you.
Thank you.
So we're down to transferring from debt service to general basic.
Okay, in order for us to pay the bills from the fire department when they come in, and from the sheriff when he gets his radio equipment, we have to have money in a fund somewhere. Right now, it's sitting in our our debt service fund. So our transfer will be for $1,028,500, which is the money for the dam project and for the pagers and radio equipment. So it'll all be sitting in general basic after this transfer, waiting for the bills to come in.
Okay.
And then they can be paid. So, otherwise it would be sitting in the debt service fund and you can't,
Yeah.
you're not supposed to pay bills out of debt service. You're supposed to transfer it
Transfer them to
into
just general
something
basic
else. So I
first.
talked to Tim McCartan, because I thought maybe I had to set up a special project fund for it. And he said, no, you can just pay those out of general basic. So that's what we did based on his recommendation.
And that, Peggy, again, that covered what, you said the dam project, the radio equipment,
And the firefighters, pagers, and radios.
remember, we had a question come up at our LEC meeting about anything that would go...
Oh, was that the software, that $50,000?
Yeah, for the, new upgraded software that still isn't there yet, do we...
I can't remember if that was in that or not. I know we talked about it, but...
Because
I'd have to
the
look
question
at my
came up
file.
from somebody at a meeting, and then we said...
That money's probably in that sum, because I don't think that would add up to...
We included the software project, and I thought we talked about that.
And you said it would have to, it was there, but...
What was the 1 million, how much?
$1,028,500. 1,028,500.
You follow me on that, Rick, so that the other things that need to be, when the bills come in, would be able to be paid out of the general basic?
Yeah.
Well, then if that's the case, that $1,028,000 is everything the
That
county's supposed
includes
to
it.
have.
Okay, that's
Whatever
like-
projects we had for the county,
Because,
That's the
you know, the radios were like 260-some thousand, if I remember right, or something like that.
Right.
And the dam was 500,000, so that's only about 700,000, so there's still a fair amount of money there.
That should be everything that's quote-unquote county-related,
Right.
potentially. Okay,
yeah.
My only
And if
question.
we have it too high, then, we'll adjust accordingly, but,
okay.
You need a motion on that, Peggy?
yes.
I'll make a motion to approve that transfer of the debt services to general basic for that amount.
Second.
Okay, first, second, any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Transferred. Committee reports.
Okay, I had the dog meeting on Wednesday, which I couldn't make, but I did have a Humboldt County Economic Development meeting on Thursday morning at 7, it was Zoom. So that's the only one I had this week.
I had none.
Oh, excuse me, LEC also on last Monday.
Monday, yes.
It's always a little confusing to remember that one.
I had none.
I had, Monday, the 7th, I participated in the White House, COVID-19 vaccine update. Pretty interesting, pretty much everything that, we heard in the news, was stated, that be on there talking about it again. As county officials, they want us to encourage all residents to please, get the vaccine. They consider it safe. The reason why they call it Warp Speed was because they put it again ahead of any other project that was coming into the FDA. So that's why they were able to, get this out quick. And that's the political parties, everything again is done by independent people.
Sandy, I hate to interrupt you, but the Zoom meeting will automatically shut you all off at 10:30, which is in about 3 minutes.
Okay, so my other thing was, Wednesday, I attended the ISAC webinar, that was for legislative priorities, that was really interesting. And then Wednesday also, the 9th, I had a CSF, meeting, that was a webinar, or Zoom meeting, I mean. And then there was a NACO, symposium, on the 10th. That was really, really good. It was on rural action counties, rural counties and also urban, but we broke out into 2 different ones. And then also on the 10th, I had an ISAC education, committee, basically going over all the things that we're gonna be doing next year. And that's it.
Okay?
And, on the 9th, I had a animal shelter dog house meeting. That's it. I'll explain that later.
Okay, going back to Wednesday, December 2nd, I had a decategorization teleconference meeting. Then on Monday, the 7th, we had the LEC meeting. And on Friday, the 11th, I had a second judicial district meeting via Zoom. That's all I have for official meetings. Everything else I'd already told you. Peggy, do you have anything for us?
Nope.
Is it, okay, anybody else have anything for us? Sandy?
Nope, I have nothing.
Make a motion to adjourn,
Second.
before we have...
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.